I'm going to call the meeting to order. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, April 14, 2025 meeting of the Westport Select Board. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. Just some welcome comments. First, we want to really thank the students at the Diamond Vocational School under the leadership of their teacher, Manny Botello, for this beautiful desk that they did. So this is the Diamond students built this desk. Is there a shop class? Like, is there a group that did it?
I think it's just the general shop class, cabinet class, and they also sent it to the finishing class as well.
Right, yeah. So thank you very much to the students at Diamond. We're going to give them applause. We also want to wish congratulations to the newly elected officials that were elected on Tuesday, April 8th. So we welcome Jake McGuigan to the board.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it.
Manny was reelected to the planning board. I was reelected, and we have some new people and some new faces. We have a new moderator. We have 2 new school committee members. So congratulations to everyone for the election. Congratulations to Chris for your team for doing a great job at running the elections. And just want to remind everybody that we're not done voting. On May 6th is town meeting. So May 6th at 7 p.m. at the new high school, we'll be voting again. So we'll see. Is there any other announcements or recognitions? Oh, I want to thank the Clean Our Westport crew. So I don't know how many people, it was, but I think about 80 people went and picked up trash. It was a miserable day for it too. But thank you to all of the workers who organized the Clean Our Westport, the people who went out and picking up the trash, and the highway department for supporting them. That was a really nice, I wish we didn't have to pick up trash on the side of the road, but it's very nice to see it done. So thank you to those people. All right, any other announcements? Okay, so the first item that we have on the agenda, as we do every time we have new members come on, is reorganization of the board, where we choose the chair, vice chair, and clerk. So what is the pleasure of the board? Correct.
I will move that we appoint Shauna Teese as chair, Richard Brewer as vice chair, and Jake McGuigan as clerk.
I was told the clerk position was mandatory for a rookie. So.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to make that speech.
I believe I said it was tradition, not mandatory.
Well, I was a rookie for my second time around last year, so I got it that time.
You got it back?
Yeah, I have done it twice.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'd like to make a motion.
Well, we're first seeing if we have a second on this motion.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? You can discuss.
Well, I'm not going to vote for that. I'd like to, most definitely not.
Okay.
I would like to vote for Jake as the chair, since we got some new blood in here. And I would like to see Dick as the vice chair, and I'd like to see you as the clerk. Because I'm a little bit busy, and I wouldn't be able to do the clerk on my last year.
Is there any discussion on that? Any further discussion? So the motion on the table is for me as chair, Dick as vice chair, and Jake as the clerk.
No, that wasn't what it was.
That was the motion and
Right, you can't,
seconded.
you have to act on the motion.
You were
first.
discussing.
Okay.
We have to first
Yep.
act on the first motion.
Okay.
Did you have anything else to add?
No, I don't.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed?
Nay.
I didn't hear your vote.
Aye.
Okay, so we have 4 ayes and 1 nay. Thank you very much. Thanks for volunteering to be the clerk. We don't have any public hearings on the agenda today. So the first item that we have is 3A. We have a request from New England Race Events LLC to hold the Horseneck Half Marathon and 3.5-mile run on Sunday, May 18, 2025, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., along with a request for a 1-day wine and malt liquor license for the event. Jim, do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, this is a yearly event. It's been successful over the years, so we have a favorable recommendation from the police department with police details. I'd recommend approval.
All right, is there any discussion?
Move approval?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the event. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. For appointments and resignations, we have a request to appoint David O'Brien to the Economic Development Task Force. David's here. Do you want to say anything? You don't have to. It's not required.
No, I'm looking forward to serving if I'm
Okay. All right, so what's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we appoint David as the, to the Economic Development Task Force.
Second, Madam Chair.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from Bonnie Strebel, Library Director, to accept the resignation of Melissa Ferreira.
Move we accept the resignation with regret.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. We have a request from Chris Stinson to appoint Josh Brum as Principal Clerk for the Clerk Registrar's Office effective April 28, 2025. Chris, you're here. Did you want to say anything? No?
Not really.
If we have questions.
He's been in the position, basically the same position before, and I am very confident and excited to have him start if appointed.
And we do have an item, I think, later on the agenda to post that position, right? All right, so what's the pleasure of the board?
I move we appoint Josh Broom to the Principal Clerk at the Clerk Registrar's Office, effective April 28.
Second, Madam Chair.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from the Southeastern Regional Planning and Economic Development District, SERPID, to appoint a member of the Select Board as commission member. So we had, Manny, you are serving that for the remainder of Steve's term in the position. Do you want to continue?
Yes, I
in-
would like that.
Right. Anybody else interested in that?
No.
Okay.
I've got the other board
Yeah, okay.
related to that, so, transportation,
Economic development, that is?
yeah.
So I will entertain a motion to appoint Manny as the Select Board member for the SERPID.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from Beverly Bish, the Council on Aging Director, to appoint Janine Pacheco as part-time supportive day program aide 2 and Kevin Farnworth as part-time van driver. I know Janine is here. Did you want to say anything? You don't have to. Is Kevin here? All right, so I don't think Doug could make it.
She could not make it. She recommended both. Recommend approval.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We have a request from Dean Lenling and Asa B. Mills to be appointed to the Shellfish Advisory Board. There is one seat available, and the Shellfish Advisory Commission has recommended Dean Lenling. Are either of you gentlemen here?
Neither one of them are here.
The one over here, okay. All right. What's the pleasure of the board? So I will move to approve, to appoint Dean Lenling to the Shellfish Advisory Board on recommendation of the Shellfish Advisory Board.
Second.
Oh,
Sorry.
Is there any
Get off first.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We're now on action item 5. We have a request from Sue Brayton, the treasurer, to approve offering dental insurance to retirees. I don't see Sue here. Was she planning to come?
I believe so. She was downstairs. We're moving pretty quick.
All right, so we'll skip that. We'll skip A for a minute. So B is approve the town hall heat pump upgrade contract with B2Q, $761,700, and the town hall weatherization contract with B2Q for $27,000. So I did ask Jim to put together some information about what this project is and how we went about the timeline and procurement and all of that. So if you can help us out, Jim.
Sure. And we have Kathy Stanley here from our energy consultant, our energy expert. She's gotten a number of grants for us over the last couple of years. But in general, we started this project back in September of 2022. At that time, the winter before, we had trouble with the heating system. We had leaks in the piping, the steam system throughout the building. We were looking at ways to either replace the existing boiler system and radiator system or see if we had some alternatives. After speaking with Kathy, she went to Green Communities. She went to the utility companies and we came to realize that there's funding available for electrification of these systems, but there is no funding available for replacing existing gas systems. So we applied for a Green Communities grant that was written by Kathy, and we were awarded that grant in January of 2023 for $467,000. This was one of the largest grants in the state. I think there was one that was in the same range. The rest were under $200,000. So we were excited to get that. Green Communities themselves were excited because this would be their first project for electrification in like a municipal building here. In addition to that, in that same month, we met with utility companies, and they had committed to about $129,000 in incentives, utility incentives for the project. As we went through the initial process of the grant and as the initial process of what had to be done to the building, we realized that the electrical system needs to be upgraded. So we put in an application to CPC, and town meeting in May of 2023 approved $150,000 of funding to be used for the electrical upgrades. And these electrical upgrades would be beneficial whether the HVAC system was installed or not. I mean, we had a fire in our office a couple of years ago. The system is outdated, so this is beneficial to the town and the system itself. And then in December of this year, the balance of ARPA funds, $158,200, was appropriated for this project as well. There were some questions on the procurement, and if you have specific questions, I'm going to defer to Kathy because she's more familiar with this process than I am. But we went through a design-build process under Chapter 25A, Section 11I, which is different from what we normally do, but it's set up for energy management service contracts specifically. We put a request for qualifications out in April of 2023. We had 7 proposals from some significant companies that were very interested in working here with the town. Those proposals were evaluated by the committee in reference comparable evaluation that was addressed in the RFQ.
Can you just, that was the Green Energy, which committee was that?
Geez, I think it was I don't know, it was official committee or,
It was the selection committee for the RFQ under
Right.
Chapter 25A, Section 11I.
so we went through that. We narrowed it down to 3 companies. Those 3 companies were interviewed. Their references were checked. Their price proposals, previous projects were reviewed, and a recommendation was made to the Select Board in December of 2023 by the committee, and the Select Board approved the contract in 2023. So this project has been going on for a long time. There's been a lot of work that's been done behind the scenes to get this moving forward. As far as funding goes, we have 2 contracts proposed with B2Q under that procurement process that I just outlined. We have the overall project, which would be the HVAC system itself, about $761,000, and then as part of that, there's a weatherization that's required, which would be about $27,000. And then we have roughly $115,000 remaining in contingency. And the funding for that, as I mentioned earlier, CPC $150,000. We had that Green Communities grant for $467,000. Utility rebates and incentives, roughly around $129,000. That could change slightly. Some of that's going towards the weatherization. Some of that would go towards the overall HVAC system project. And then we have the ARPA funding of $158,200, which is designated for this project. We did check with Green Communities to see if this funding or this grant could be reallocated to another project, and that is not a possibility. If we don't use it here, we lose it. Again, Kathy's here. She can answer any specific questions relating to this. I'd recommend that we approve the 2 contracts. Whether we keep this building or not, it's going to be an improvement to the building. I think it's something that will add value to the building, whether we stay here or whether the building's sold or whatever the condition of the building is in the future. So, looking back, I kind of wish there was funding available to redo our existing systems and just put in a cooling system, but there is not. So the cost to the town would have been significantly more out of pocket for the town if we did something different.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions?
Yeah, but to redo the systems, we could have used that opera money that we had, right?
We do have $158,000.
No, I'm saying like before we decided for this. Did we do any kind of studies on how much this electrical system's going to cost us to operate?
That I would defer to Kathy.
Studies on how much the electrical system, the infrastructure improvement
Yeah.
is going to cost? Yeah, it's part of that $761,000 number. So, And we don't have that actually broken out specifically. It's part of the budget that's broken into design, construction, and project management, materials, labor, expenses, insurance, total, turnkey, subtotal, incentive, et cetera. So I don't have a specific budget line item for that, but it is part of the 761.
What about the ongoing costs, though, associated with maintenance?
I'm sorry?
What about ongoing, like the next year, after the project's done, the ongoing maintenance costs or the ongoing utility costs?
So we will have a maintenance contract with our heat pumps that we will maintain like you would for any HVAC system, regardless of whether it was a boiler or a heat pump system, you have to maintain it. But there are no other ongoing project costs. Everything that we need to do to fully implement the HVAC system upgrade here, including electric infrastructure, weatherization, engineering, all of the equipment is baked into that number.
Mandy, did you have another?
Yeah. So you haven't done, like, our electric bills have gone through the roof. You haven't done an updated cost of what this system's gonna cost us to run? 'Cause I put a heat pump in my house.
We do have an estimate of what our electric costs are going to be for this project. It is important for you to understand that the town has an excess of net metering credits, a substantial excess of net metering credits that we cannot use anywhere except for our own electric bills. So one of the plans, one of the reasons we're taking this approach is it allows us to use those excess credits to pay down our electric bill. They are almost twice what we actually use for electricity. Those contracts were executed probably 8 years before Jim and I were here, and we have been struggling with a plan of what to do with them, because basically the credits just pile up on the bills if we don't use them. So that is very much so part of the plan for, and I get it, yeah, you are going to have an increase in your electric costs.
I thought originally it was somewhere around 5,000 to 8,000 a year, is that?
So I'm looking on page 2 of your, is that where it show the cost, because it shows cost savings on page 2. You have
Yep.
that it's going to increase the I think I was reading this wrong, but it's going to increase the electrical bill but decrease the natural gas?
That's correct. So
So-
the gas bill goes away.
So it's basically net,
It's about a wash
yeah.
in terms of net costs. But the big benefit is if it's in electricity on our utility bill, we have credits for it.
Did we, when we built a new high school, did we take those credits into consideration?
Not all of them. We use some of them, we use as many as we can, but there's no way we'd use them all at the high school. Not only that, but the high school's electric use is way lower than what it was when we first commissioned. You know, the first few months are always a little tough, but once you get through, I think our EUI over there is like 40, like the energy unit index. It's very low energy usage. So if we don't use these credits here, we're not going to use it. It's a real problem.
Well, they could be used on other buildings that we have projects on, no?
Only to the extent that we actually have an electric bill to consume them.
Okay.
Jake, did you have?
Yeah, obviously, I'm new to this position, and this has been an ongoing project for a while. I think my ongoing concern, and what I've discussed in public forums, is the impact and cost to taxpayers. And what exactly is that cost to taxpayers? I know you say we have credits, but I do have a concern about converting this all over. And these numbers, which, you know, in my mind, I'm just looking at, you know, is there more of a breakdown? Is there more of a breakdown as to, you know, where is the contract going? Who's the contractor? You know, weatherization of 27,000. I mean, what exactly does that encompass here in the town hall? You know, those are the concerns that I have. I think, as many people saw last week, you know, we are spending money, well, it could be grants or you know, taxpayer money on facilities that I just don't see a master plan in place. And this has nothing to do with you with respect to that. But, you know, are we piecemealing all these buildings with no thought process for the future as to what we're going to do with all of them and how we're going to move forward. I mean, $800,000 is a big number, and that's really where I have my concern. And, you know, I don't know if you can address that, but I think looking at the cost to taxpayers is the number one thing, and not to take away from anyone's comfort here in the town hall, but, I mean, it's a pretty large number.
So the Green Communities Grant, let's talk about that. It's $467,000 that has been given to us. It is a grant. There is no cost to taxpayers for that. It was given to us by Green Communities for the electrification of this building. It is only available for projects that will eliminate fossil fuels. It is not available for any project that involves fossil fuels. So that's why we got that money, because we were willing to undertake a project here that involved eliminating fossil fuels. The situation is, when we evaluate all of the buildings that the town owns, including all of the schools and all the municipal buildings, the one building that had a significant HVAC issue was this one. The schools, I've been very involved with those schools since I came here, and their HVAC systems are hot water. So, and they're not in bad condition. They have, well, they don't, one of them has condensing boilers, the other two have regular hot water boilers, but they are not at the end of their useful life. They are more efficient, they use less energy. Our EUIs in those schools are under 60. They're energy-efficient buildings. They were meticulously maintained by our very competent schools director of facilities before he retired. He was amazing. Those schools are really doing very well. So as far as the MAC and the Westport Elementary School, I mean, we do mini splits when we can. We put in cooling when we can, because it's better for their education plan for us to have spaces that are cooled, especially with respect to special ed and other kinds of things that they need to be concerned with. But for the most part, those schools, to electrify them, to take the next step, which would be to eliminate fossil fuel systems there, we're talking about $2 to $5 million each.
So I know Jake had
So-
several questions in there, but I'm just going to interrupt. Let's just talk about the money for a minute. So the Green Communities Grant is only available for this project. So
That's
if we did
correct.
not move forward with this, we'd lose that. The utility rebates and incentives,
Are based on us doing heat pump technology. So if we
Right.
don't do that technology, those go away.
right, and then the ARPA funding, Jim, we previously committed the ARPA funding, and I don't think there's an opportunity to redirect that, is there?
There isn't. We had to get under contract by the end of December in order to lock in that money. If we change the contract, there's a potential to lose that funding.
And so really the only money here that we could, if you didn't go forward with the project, the only money really that you wouldn't be spending, or that would be available for other purposes, would be the CPC money. So there must be some method to return that back. So the CPC, $150,000, it was decided by town meeting in '23, I think you said. So that money would have been paid by property on your property tax bill, your CPC. So so that's where the money is coming from. It is not coming from increased taxation. There's no bond or anything associated with this. You also asked about the weatherization contract. So can you just talk a little bit
Sure.
about the weatherization?
So the scope of work for the weatherization contract is, I mean, I can read it to you if you're interested. We're doing an air barrier retrofit for the area of the south entrance elevator lobby. There's a retrofit to the existing attic hatch to improve air sealing. There's weather stripping and air sealing around 4 exterior doors on the first floor. There's 12 inches of blown-in cellulose insulation to supplement existing insulation in the attic, increasing the estimated R value to approximately R18 from R18 to R6C. So there's a very specific scope of work for the weatherization. You should not implement an electrification project, a heat pump project, without sufficient weatherization. Your building needs to be tight enough to be able to heat that space and cool that space with heat pump technology. So this is essential. Not only that, it's a requirement of Green Communities for us to have a fully weatherized building, either previously or along with our project. So, and it's best practices. It's just given that every building that undergoes any kind of heat pump retrofit would have a full electric weatherization project done as well. In addition, this project is a $27,000 cost with a $13,500 utility incentive. Half of it will be incentives.
Jake, did that hit all your points, or did we miss some?
It does. I mean, I don't think winterization of a building at 27,000, I actually think those numbers probably could have been reversed to winterize this building. I mean, just looking at these windows and everything else in here, I think it would be a heck of a lot more than $27,000 to, essentially weatherize this building. Just a quick question. So you work for B2Q?
No.
Okay.
I am a shared energy manager. So I work for the towns of Westport, Dartmouth, Halifax, Stoughton, and Walpole.
Okay.
That is my role. I work for you. I am your energy manager. That's what I do. I advocate for you. I look for money. I look for grant money. I continue my continuing education. I look for opportunities. We did a Renews America Schools grant. That was a lot of fun. Federal grant opportunity last year for our schools to see if we could get the money to do new boilers and work at both elementary schools. We didn't get it. But that's what I do. My efforts are solely put in play to advance the energy agenda of this town in other ways as well as just project management as well.
So would you manage this project, sorry, through the chair, would you manage this project and the contractors and everything involved with this contract?
Yes. We did select B2Q through our competitive procurement process, and I think it was a good selection. We had 2 other firms that we interviewed, which were great. One of them was Siemens, one of my favorite people. I checked their references, they're amazing, and every one of them said they're great and they're very expensive. So, I mean, we really worked hard to get a contractor in here, a really solid vendor who could do this project, but who would be very sensitive to the fact that we don't have a ton of money, so they need to really sharpen their pencil.
Do either of you have anything before I give it to Manny again?
No, I was on the committee, and I've been through this, and this is largely paid for by other money, and this building isn't going to disappear that soon. So I think it's a wise decision, and we ought to move ahead with it.
Go ahead, Manny.
So the green, I didn't read the grant.
Yeah.
So the Green Communities Grant, that's just for heat pumps?
Every year, we are allowed to apply for our Green Communities Grant, and we do. Prior to this particular one, we had several that we did. Every year, you get an opportunity to apply for, it's up to $225,000 a year now for energy efficiency work, or you have the opportunity to apply for a grant that allows you to do an electrification project, and that extends that grant to almost $500,000. So in order to apply for it, you have to have a project that is pretty well baked. So I had a scoping study done for this building, an audit that was paid for by the utility. The utility supervised that contractor, I think it was B2Q actually, who did the scoping study, and the utility paid for it. We took that study, and that was the basis of our grant application. So then we have to put our application in, and we have to cross our fingers. We were awarded that $467,000 based on B2Q's scoping study and the utility work that was done as well. It's a long process. We put those applications in twice a year, either in February or in October, and it may take 5 months to hear back from them, and then we have a specific amount of time that we have to implement the project and do our final reporting in order to be eligible for the next round.
So I understand the need for the electrical system, which is probably pretty extensive, and I just can't see the need to move forward with the heat pump without replacing windows. I mean, is that in the contract?
No. Window replacements, first of all, there's no funding for window replacements anywhere.
Your weatherization?
No, there is none. Windows are always a capital play. To replace windows at any building, go to town meeting, get them to pay for it. That's the only way I've ever been able to get a window project done.
Like with our opera funds?
No.
stuff like the CPC money, we could replace the windows with the CPC money.
Yeah.
It'd be a different application.
Well, I'm just thinking of running the heat pump with these windows. I don't know how efficient that's gonna be.
Is there anything else from the board before I open to the public?
One more question. So the building per se, obviously we have old radiators here. What is the process for retrofitting this building with, is it going to be,
So the-
vent systems and
These,
how does it?
I think these radiators are going to be demoed as part of the project. I know the boiler will be demoed. We are removing the boiler system from the building. It's important for you to understand the boiler system is reaching the end of its life, but so is the distribution system. So the steam distribution system is done. If we wanted to try and replace that, that's behind architectural services. I don't see that as practical on any level. So we will be demoing the boiler system, and then there is a plan, and I think, does he address a scope of work in here and specifically? I haven't read this in a while, so,
To furnish and install condensate piping and pumps.
Yeah.
So the second floor will have a.
Is
attic
ceiling-
system with-
yeah.
With vents. First floor will have individual units in the different offices.
so it's in the ceiling cassettes is the plan
The second
for
floor.
the second floor, yes.
Through the chair. So the process for the town workers that are here, is this building going to be closed? Is it going to be
No.
able to be used while it's being done, the work?
Yep, there's a plan. We'll be working with Joe Bliss and his team from B2Q. He has been working with a contractor, mechanical contractor, ATC, who is a contractor that has done a lot of work for the town and been very involved in our schools. And that is one of the reasons I wanted ATC to be involved, because I know Mike had a great deal of respect for them. So that matters to me. So ATC will be working with us for a schedule. They may have to, folks may need to vacate their office for a day. I don't think it'll be more than a day. I think we talked about that. But there will be a schedule where people may have to shuffle around while this work is done.
Okay.
I do want to just point on the schedule that you have in here on page 7, so that you'd order the materials within 3 weeks of starting the work, and then there anticipates a lead time of 12 weeks. So this is not going to happen quickly.
No,
then-
nothing really happens
Yeah.
quickly.
So the lead time of the materials is estimated to be about 12 weeks, and then once the materials are delivered, then it's 16 weeks. Is that,
Yeah.
that's what it says here?
We definitely plan to have this done before the winter. That's,
So when would you be applying for the building permit?
that, as soon as we
Get the contract in
can
place.
get a contract in place, which hopefully will be as soon as, if this board approves this project, we will have the contract in place by tomorrow. The next step is to submit the contract along with our master terms and conditions that we have already put in place, and send it to the Department of Energy Resources, which completes our procurement process. We have to follow the rules around our procurement process. So that goes to DOER. Once that happens, we can then proceed to a kickoff meeting. The kickoff meeting would involve B2Q, ATC, our mechanical contractor, anybody who we're going to be involved. I don't think, we're not doing a controls project, so we don't need a controls contractor, but certainly we would involve our weatherization contractor, and at that time, there would be a plan made for a schedule of activities, including permitting, things of that nature.
The demolition, and this is an historical building. Have you looked at that?
Yes, we had an actual asbestos study done in this building.
What about the historical value of the system that's in the building now? And our overall plan on what we're going to use the building for later?
I don't believe there's historical relevance to the boiler.
Boiler, but the outside, we've discussed it with B2Q and their design. I mean, we want to make sure we minimize the amount of piping and stuff that's visible on the outside. We want to do as much interior as we can. We want to maintain the character of the building.
And more of just a comment. Obviously, this is my first meeting. I try to do a crash course, reviewing minutes back to March 2023 and up through September 2024. Just prefacing this, if I had a contractor come to my house, I would obviously want, if they throw a $500,000 price tag on me, I want everything itemized, exactly what's going to where it's going to, if I'm going to have to pay for it. So with all due respect, I'm new here, but I just can't, and I don't have I really won't be able to probably vote for this because I'm not comfortable enough with the impact to Westport, to the taxpayers, to basically, I think, a master plan that we should be addressing with all the buildings, not just the town hall. So that's where I'm coming from, just in full disclosure, so you know. I know you say there's credits there, but I've heard some horror stories recently with people putting in heat pumps and their electrical costs going through the roof. So no pun intended. But that's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm new to the game, but trying to do a crash course, I'm just not comfortable with that expenditure, even though it is grants. It's still taxpayer money one way or the other, so that's my opinion. So,
Thank you.
Chair.
I'm going to take to the public. Go ahead.
Okay, Jim Whiten, I'm on River Road. I have several small questions. So the heat or the air conditioning would be provided to all the different rooms with mini split type things?
It's a heat pump system. It's not technically a mini split. There will be cassettes in the ceiling of this floor, and then there will be units that are installed in each office on the first floor.
And is it ground source or
Yeah.
air source? heat
Ground
pump?
source heat pumps are out of the question here. Ground source heat pumps would be,
Because?
they're outrageously expensive.
Expensive, okay. All right, I think this is a great idea to do. I think it gets rid of the old system. You're probably at the end of the life of the old system. And I don't see any better choice than to use the Green Communities grant. Is that in lieu of, on a residential basis, you use Mass Save?
So Mass Save is the incentive organization that works with our utilities to distribute money that's collected from ratepayers in order to provide incentives for energy efficiency work and for decarbonization work. The incentives that are coming as part of this project for the weatherization and for the heat pumps are all coming from Mass Save. It's the same kind of group. But in this case, it's a large project, and I have the benefit of working with Eversource directly. They have been great partners here. They have been involved from day one, as well as Liberty Utilities, in helping us. They paid for scoping studies. They paid for audits. They are amazing partners, so we are very lucky to have them.
My last small question is with regard to when it's really cold outside. Is this going to be able to provide the heat? Or because some of the systems like I put in, if it gets below 14, you really need an auxiliary source of heat.
We believe the heat pump system will adequately handle the heat needs of this building. There is I think there's some resistance heating strips that we're putting in as well for periphery, just mostly because as a resiliency measure. So if we were to lose power and we were to need to keep the building from freezing with just a generator, it would be way easier to do that with some electric resistance heating strips. We don't expect to need them. They're there if we need them, but it's really more of a resiliency play.
So the strips are in the individual rooms or in the system?
They're going to be installed in the rooms on the perimeter of the building.
Thank you. Maury?
So I'd just like to address Jake's comment here, because I don't think this is the place to vote against a project like this. At the federal level and at the state level, yes, there's been a tremendous amount of money authorized for grants to municipalities, and bottom line is, if we don't take it, somebody else will get it. More money will go to Cape Cod, not here. And they'll have their town halls modernized, not us. So the money is there, and your battle is well fought. I share your general sentiment on using taxpayers' money left and right. But on the other hand, this is a battle for the federal government and the state government. I think we should get our fair share. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have comment? Anybody else on board? Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of the
Just a minute.
pump project funding as presented.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Go ahead.
Yes, Dave Reposa. We're doing the high school, so the construction here, as far as I'm concerned, is not safe for people to be working in. Why can't we delay all of this, go right to the high school, move everybody in there, then commence to doing the construction here at this place? Very simple.
Is there a time limit on the grant? Is there a time expiration?
Yes, our grant will expire in August. I will have to apply for an extension, and I've been assured by DOER that we will get one. I do want to make one more comment that we haven't really talked about. As part of this procurement, we decided, Jim and I decided to make sure that we included all of the municipal and school buildings in Westport in this procurement project so that we would have a very good understanding of what each and every building needed, and because we could do that as part of the Chapter 25A, Section 11I. Every single building in town has had a scoping audit. This is the scoping audit that was performed for the former high school, the old high school, for example. Every building has one of these scoping audits done. Those reports have been done. They've been sent over to Jim. So we have a full building plan in terms of we know what each building needs to have done to improve energy efficiency, improve the life of their HVAC system, how much it is likely to cost, what the estimates of the incentives are, what the likely energy savings will be, and what the likely increased expenditures, if anything, would be. All of that work was done. B2Q did it as part of this procurement. So you wouldn't need to keep this project from moving forward in order to do that. That's part of what we already plan to do and have done.
Thank you. So on my personal comment, so I'm in favor of the project. I support going forward with the contract. I think one of the reasons that some of our planning seems so haphazard is because we don't have planned infrastructure money to say we're spending $5 million on this year, and then next year we're spending another $5 million. So what happens is we're forced to go after, we find the critical needs and then try to find the grants that fit, right? And so if we just had an open, $10 million, where do we want to spend it? That's a very different way of planning than saying, how can I grab this grant? How can I take advantage of this money? That kind of thing. So I think that I agree with you. That's kind of frustrating. You want to have like the five. We do our best to have a 5-year plan, right? But we don't have the money to accomplish the planning that needs to be done. So we have to just make do with grants and where we can get it. So I've supported this because I think this building, it adds value to this building regardless of how much longer we use it, or if we sell it, if we lease it. I think it still adds value to the project.
And Chair, with all due respect, I think the community meeting that was had last week at the high school, the old high school, showed that I think the community is willing to come together, the Council of Aging, the kids, the recreational department, everyone. Very rarely are you going to find an issue where you're going to get buy-in from almost everyone in the community. And I do believe that if a plan was put forth that had a $10 million or a $12 million price tag, even though it's going to impact taxpayers, I bet you could get buy-in to use that. So to say that, I just don't see the path forward. So I do believe you could get buy-in from all those groups if we did have a plan in place, even if it did mean increased property taxes and others to the people. So thank you.
Was there any other? Just go ahead.
I was at that meeting, and I think at the very end of that meeting, one of the comments that was made was a challenge, because my experience, both on this board and as a resident of this town, is that the school is a rarity that we've only gotten it for bonding for police, fire, and the new high school, senior high school. Anything else that proposes to raise taxes and doesn't involve construction of a new facility has never been passed in this town.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the contract. Is there any further
The
discussion?
two contracts.
The two contracts with the B2Q. So we have one for the heat pump upgrade and one for the weatherization. Is there, All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Opposed?
So we have 3 in favor, 2 opposed, so that passes. So please keep us updated when
Yeah.
we have a more definitive project schedule.
Sure.
And I think you might be, is she involved in
I'm
the
gonna
next
ask
the next
Kathy to
one?
stay for the
Can you
next
just
one,
stay
yes.
for the next one, and then we're going to back up to you, Sue, after that. So the next item we had is to request to authorize the town administrator to sign the contract with Constellation New Energy, Inc. You want to explain that one, Jim?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm going to defer to Kathy to explain it because she is much more experienced than I
My
am.
pleasure. So we're talking about the town's supply, electric supply contract. And Massachusetts electricity is deregulated, as well as natural gas, which means we have the ability to procure our energy from a supplier that is not the same as the utility. This is getting a little complicated because it doesn't have anything to do with our net metering agreement. For now, we will set that aside. We need to be concerned about where we're going to buy our actual electricity supply, because it's a requirement. Either if we don't provide it from a supplier, then we're going to be, by default, a customer of the utility. The utility does not mark up electricity. They don't sell electricity to make profit. I know this is getting a little complicated, but that's just the way it is. They don't care where you buy your electricity. It makes no difference to them whatsoever. So we have executed a contract with Constellation New Energy for our electric supply. Our current rate is 13.15 cents for our electricity. And we have an opportunity to extend our contract through 2028 at a rate of 12.63 cents, which is a savings. And I just have to find my notes. We use about 2.9 million annual kilowatt hours. At our current cost, that's about $390,000 a year. If we execute this contract, we'll spend $374,000 a year for a savings of $15,434.
And who's the "we"? Is it the resident?
It is not the resident. This is not the aggregation. This is the town of Westport.
town of Westport.
What we need to do to buy electricity for our schools, our municipal buildings.
Okay, so this is, approving this would reduce the electrical cost from the current, about $20,000.
That's correct. We would then, after we pay our electric bill, be able to take our net metering credits and apply them to the bill, and thereby not have to pay that. But we still want to reduce the cost as much as possible.
Okay. Any questions? Yeah.
Does the distribution charge stay the same no matter?
This is strictly supply. It doesn't have anything to do with the regulated cost of
So that'll be
electricity.
the same? either way?
That's correct.
Any question? What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam, I move authorization of the signing of this contract with Constellation New Energy Incorporated.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
I just wanted to make a note, too. The aggregation is also going to be going out to bid shortly, and at some point in the next couple of months, you're going to have a motion before you to authorize Jim to approve whatever their new contract number will be. You will not have the ability to do that beforehand. He will either be allowed to execute on the day that they go to bid, or you won't participate in the aggregation. That is the way it works. So I just want to put that out there. If there's any need to,
So at the next meeting, we should ask the board for authorization.
whatever it is you guys need, whatever we need to do to make you aware of how this works and, make you comfortable with this, we need to do.
And that's the one where I, as a resident, go sign.
That's correct. And it's very important, too, because it's one of the few opportunities you have to really do something great for your constituents that's just going to help them. And we've seen tons of these scams going around where older residents get called over and over. If they're participating in your aggregation, they know it's a town program, that your lawyers have vetted it, it protects them. It's hugely important for us to participate.
Through the chair, just one quick question on that. That's an opt-out, right? Everyone's in it unless they
That's
opt out?
correct, and you can't do it any other way under state law. So it's either opt-out or you don't do it at all.
All right, thank you.
All right, do you have anything else for where Kathy would be helpful?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
All right, so we're backing up to 5A. We have a request from Sue Brayton, the treasurer, to approve offering dental insurance to retirees. Welcome, Sue.
How's everyone?
We have a fancy new desk. Do you like the desk?
I love it. It's very nice. So, the town of Westport has historically not offered any benefits other than the required health insurance to our retirees. We've often had a lot of them inquire about dental insurance, and Southeastern Mass Health Group has proposed that we offer, they have come up with a retiree dental plan, and it will cost the town nothing. Just as our present dental plan for the active employees, the town doesn't contribute to it. If the employees opt into it, it is entirely at their cost. So the full cost is borne by the employee, or in this case, the retiree. So it won't cost the town anything, and it's an option for the retirees when they retire. The only actual cost to the town is that it will be a little more work for my office.
Jim, do you have a recommendation?
I recommend approval.
Does anybody have any question?
What is the guarantee on the ability that it won't come back on the town to cover any of those costs with rising health insurance costs every
Right.
year?
This is part of the program that we're in with Southeastern Mass Health Group. We don't have to offer a plan. If they offer it to us, we don't necessarily have to offer it. So if they decide this plan would be good through 2027 that they're offering right now, if they chose something different that the town was going to be required to participate in, we could reject it at that time.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
Thank
We're
you.
missing our little cadence here without our friend Steve. Steve would like
That's
move
right.
everything, and it would go, now we're gonna make Paula, she's gonna like be on her toes with.
I'll be first to move what I like to move.
Now we're on D, for those of you following along, 5D. We have a request from the Shellfish Advisory Board to amend the aquaculture rules and regulations, section 9.4.4.1, paragraph A, to increase the minimum age for licenses to 16 years old. So this is a regulation. Is there someone here from the Shellfish Advisory who's going to talk to it? Welcome. Can you introduce yourself?
Good evening. I'm Rick Smith. I'm the chair of the Shellfish Advisory Board. This is pretty simple. We're just trying to, but before I begin, congratulations to the electeds as you go forward and whatever you go forward in. But anyway, what we're trying to do, what we found is there's a discrepancy in the shellfish rules right now and regulations. In order, as it currently sits right now, you have to be 14 years old to get an aquaculture license. But to get an aquaculture license, you have to be a commercial, you have to have a commercial license. To get a commercial license, you have to be 16. So what we're trying to do is line everything up so that you'll have your commercial license at 16, and when you want to get your aquaculture license or come before you for the aquaculture license, it'll all fall in line, so everything will be 16, just to streamline it.
Okay. Any questions?
I move we accept the Shellfish Advisory Board
Second.
recommendation.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Thank you. Anything
Okay,
else from you guys?
thank you.
No? We're on 5E. We have a request from Bonnie Strebel, the library director, to post the principal clerk position and the library aide 1 position, both in-house and publicly simultaneously. So you'll recall, they just lost a principal clerk with an earlier appointment, and then they have a library aide. Is she, hi, did you want to come? Hi, you want to tell us what this is about?
So Josh is unfortunately leaving us for another position, which we're very happy for him, but sad to see him go. So we would like to refill that one. And we also had one of our library clerks leave due to health reasons. She decided to resign. So we have 2 openings right now that we would like to fill.
Okay. Jim, do you have a
I'd
recommendation?
recommend posting in-house and externally as well,
Okay.
simultaneously.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Anything else? Anything going on at the library you want to tell us about?
For Earth Day, we're doing a kids' clothing swap this month, so anybody can bring their nicely, gently worn kids' clothing in, and then the last 2 weeks of the month, starting the 22nd, you can come in and take whatever you want, and hopefully, we have a lot of donations so far. There's really good stuff, so.
Right, right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 5F, we have the request to approve the town engineer job description and to post the position. You want to tell us what this is, Jim?
Yeah, so a copy of the description is in your packet, the job description. This has gone back and forth a number of times. We had some comments from a couple of the other boards at the last meeting, which some of those have been incorporated, a couple of the minor ones have not. This is the final version. It's been sent to the Personnel Board as well, and the chair felt that the changes were relatively minor and did not need to go back before them. So it's being presented to the committee for approval of the job description and determination of whether or not it should be posted at this time or at a later date.
Is this budgeted in the next year's budget?
It's budgeted in this year's budget and next year's budget. The only caveat I would say is that right now it's in the Highway Department budget, and the Highway Department per bylaw requires a town resident for the position.
Okay. Anything, any comments or questions?
Madam Chair, we've been talking about this for a while. I think this is a good product, and it covers all the major functions of that town engineer job description. So I would move that we approve the job description and we post the position.
My only question, Chair, is
Well, first of all, do we have a second?
Second.
Go ahead.
is it going to remain a town resident requirement on that, or do we know how that
So
will
on the town warrant, there is a proposal to remove that requirement.
remove the requirement? Okay.
So it'll be more of a preference as opposed to a requirement.
Okay.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No, so there's 4 in favor and 1 opposed. So now we are on review, amend, and recommend approve posting of the town meeting warrant. What I'd like to, we have a couple of ones that we thought we wanted to have people come in and talk about. After we have them talk about it, we'll see if there's any others that we want to come in for next week. So we do have one more meeting before the,
We have to post.
we'll have to post the warrant,
Yeah, yes.
but we don't have to post our recommendation.
That's right.
We're not required to make a recommendation. All right, so the first one, let's talk about Article 13. Article 13 is the Community Preservation Committee recommendations.
I'm Betty Slade, the Chair of the Community Preservation Committee, and John Bell is the Vice Chair. Each year we come before you with our article. We've already spent 45 minutes with the Finance Committee, so we're ready for you too. This year we have several projects. The first one is under Open Space and Recreation. The Town Bicentennial Park Playground improvements. The Bicentennial Park, playground is up near the Macomber School. It's in pretty poor condition, and the Recreation Commission has come up with a project. They are going to be talking to the community about what this project will actually end up being. They have several proposals within the project, which seemed appropriate to us. In the CPC, we voted unanimously. So we are going to recommend $250,000 for this project. That's the first project in recreation. The second is a project to have another playing field within the WYAA playing fields on American Legion Highway. The project will have a $100,000 grant, and they've asked us for a $150,000 grant. This is for a senior league. They'll do instruction, et cetera. It could be used for other purposes, but this is the main purpose that they wish to use, and this is outdoor recreation. The third is moving along with the Westport biking and walking path, the South Coast Northern Scenic Greenway feasibility study. Several towns have asked for CPA funding for this purpose, and they've come to us to ask for $12,000 as the amount of money which Westport will put into this particular part of this project. In community housing, we have the Westport Affordable Housing Trust. The chair is Craig Dutra. They have asked us for three parts of a $300,000 grant. $200,000 would be to set aside funding in case, with the hope that they can find property in the future where they can have a larger community housing like they have at Noquochuk Village. I think they have $800,000. We'll have $800,000. They need this money because these projects come up. I mean, the census, the availability of land comes up. And when it does, they need to have the funding right there. They can't wait generally for another year. $40,000 is for the housing officer, and this particular group, as you'll see outside, they're always putting up all kinds of notices about availability of funding to do things in the town, and also to have a housing officer, because, as you know, affordable housing is very complicated legally, so we need people. The third is a $60,000 for rehab, they call it, and that's basically helping people to keep their houses up to date, those that have restrictions on them, so the houses don't fall apart. And there are all kinds of income level restrictions on that. Do you want to talk about the Grange?
Well, there are two projects for the historic preservation. One of them is the Westport Grange, which is on Main Road. They want to digitize all their records and photos going back to, I'm pretty sure it's the 1800s, and make it available to the public. So they're looking for $8,225 for that.
One part of that is, if you go into the Grange, have you noticed on the walls, the very old plaques and things like this going up to the 1890s? And they also want to redo those so that they're protected. They're not, they aren't an archival folders or anything, so they want to protect those books, those plaques. Let me do the next.
Sure.
So the last project is a application by the Westport Point United Methodist Church. There's a building attached to the church called Hallen Hall. That building has been used extensively through the years for activities for people all over Westport. In 1973, it actually housed three school classes because there were problems with the Westport community schools. There have been enormous numbers of activities there that can continue on. But the building is in the historic district, and the building really needs to be upgraded to be appropriate to the historic district. So the second part is they need to do something about the accessibility, handicapped accessibility. So they have asked for funding for the outside of the building to replace the shingles, to remove the staircase, which is quite inappropriate historically, and for partial funding of the handicapped accessibility into the building. They have already $50,000, which is available for adding to that for the accessibility. And they will be doing interior work in the future, but they will do that with their own grants. And with funding, there actually has been a potential funding for the interior of the building. I want to note that this is a religious institution that owns, it's the New England Conference of Methodist Churches that owns the building. It's in the historic district. The historic district, it means that the building, any changes on the outside of the building that's visible to a public way has to be approved by the Historical Commission. It's very much like a historical preservation restriction. Because this is a religious institution that owns it, there have been problems in the past. In 2018, the Supreme Court of Massachusetts made a pronouncement, or as you know, when something is put into law, it also can be interpreted in different ways. So since that time, it's been interpreted by over 200 different projects in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts dealing with religious institutions that have been successfully completed. We have gone to town council and asked for town council to give us the kinds of things that we need to do in order to be sure that this will not be challenged in the courts. And we are doing this. One of them is that the Historical Commission had to establish that this building is significant historically for culture and history of the town. That's one. The other is that they must do their construction according to the Secretary of the Interior guidelines, which they will do. We must have a grant agreement, the CPA, through the town for the CPC, must have a grant agreement with the church in order to make sure that in the future this is maintained. Various other things that we're doing and working with town council. So this is the first project since 2018 that Westport is doing with a religious institution. But because this building is a separate building, it's always been used as a community hall, it serves the public, and it's a historic building. The CPC voted unanimously to recommend this project. So the other things we're asking for, administrative funds of $40,000. We rarely use them. We use $10,000 at the most, but sometimes things come up. And this money, as you know, goes back into the CPA funding, so it's no loss to that. And budgeted reserves, it's a funny concept. Each year we get a certain amount of money from the town, from tax, 2% of the tax bill for each individual taxpayer. Plus we get money from the state. For example, over the period since 2002, CPC, or Westport, has received about $10 million from taxes and $4 million from the state. We also get money on interest, things of that nature. So in order to use any funding to the end of the year, we have to put it into budgeted reserves so that if during the next, before the fiscal year ends, we need money for something else, we will have it available.
Just going back to Howland Hall, this is the first religious project that we've approved. There have been others that come before us, and either they've withdrew their application or we've tried to work with them. One of them was St. John's for the Old Town Hall. We've been trying to work with them about doing something with the Old Town Hall, which is right across the street from St. John's, but They're in limbo right now.
So what happened on that was, it's the Religious Education Center. And they didn't come with a thorough application. So we're trying to work with them because we believe that that building should be preserved. It's town hall. So we know that we're taking, we just know that it's been done in almost all other towns in the Commonwealth successfully. And these are, in Westport's a small town, our buildings are important, so that's one of the important ones, yeah. Good point.
All right, thank you. So just to be clear, so the action that we would take tonight is whether to keep it on the warrant or whether we're going to take it off the warrant, I think is the only real action, or if we wanted to amend it on the warrant, right?
Yes.
Excuse me,
What their recommendation is, though, this is the
Madam Chair, the
recommendation.
CPA funding going to town meeting is determined by the CPC.
Okay.
What you do is recommend, whether or not you recommend it or not. It's not taking it on and off the warrant.
Thank you. All right, does anybody have any questions?
So it's on the warrant, and we have one more meeting to make recommendations if we
correct.
choose to do so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Through the chair. Betty, quick question for you, and this is going back to my, let's be, reasonable with our long-term plan. The $250,000 for the Bicentennial Park, which is obviously right next to Macomber, is being used as a staging facility right now.
It's a mess right now, yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Are there guarantees that once we pay this $250,000 to fix this playground, that in the future, if there is some other project up there, that it will not be used to be staged in its current fashion, the way it's being?
Well, that would be up to us, not them.
I don't understand the question. It could,
There's a water line project going on up around the Macomber School.
Yeah.
And right now, the company doing the work is using the basketball courts for a staging ground for all their equipment.
My fear is just spending $250,000 to refurbish it, and then all of a sudden, it's being used for.
absolutely not, as far as
This
I'm
is-
concerned. This is a playground for kids.
If I'm not mistaken, we already invested in that project last year, and this is.
No, we put, this year was, we did the annex this year. And some of the funding was
Was going to be used.
was
for
going to
up
be
there,
used
too.
up there too, yeah.
So this
But we
is-
haven't done it without your approval and also, or not your approval, well, it's a town property, the Recreation Commission's approval. And it will not be used, cannot be used. We will make an agreement with the town on that, perhaps?
They want to gut.
I think,
We're not gonna.
I think in the
destroy a brand
future, you
playground.
can't tell what select boards will do, though, unfortunately.
You can't commit future boards to future actions. So is there anything else on the Article 13 that anybody want to talk about? I think you, go ahead.
Quick comment on the basketball courts there. The contractor will be required to improve those. They will be in a better condition when they're done. Right, yes, that was
Yes.
part of the,
Are they going to talk with the Recreation Committee before they do anything up there? They should.
the Recreation Committee, I've spoken with the director, she's well aware.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, that'll be coordinated.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the next article that we want to talk about is the short-term rental committee recommendations. So this is Articles 26 and 27. Jim, can you just remind us what the short-term rental committee was tasked with and what you've done and how you came up with this?
Sure. After town meeting last year, when that previous zoning article was voted down, we constituted a committee that comprised 2 people from the planning board, 2 people from the zoning board, and Steve Forrs as well. And I hope I'm not leaving anybody out. We were tasked to try to figure out what we should do to learn what other communities have done with short-term rentals and what fits for Westport. And after several meetings, and a lot of back and forth and discussion also with town council, we came up with this one, which is very, very simple. Just make it simple. The problem with short-term rentals is they are, because of our zoning bylaw, they're not legal in the town of Westport currently. And not only are they not legal, we probably have 300 to 400 short-term rentals in the town, if not more. And so we wanted to make them legal, but make it simple for the town to administer, and make it simple for people who are going to do this to apply for a permit, not a special permit, a permit that would be administered through the select board. And I think that this hits all the points that we're trying to do. It makes it by right in the residential agricultural area and in the business area. But the other article, which is a town article, states that this use is a business, which is what the state has determined through the Supreme, whatever it is, the Supreme Court of Massachusetts, Supreme Judicial Court, has opined that short-term rentals are a business. So because they are a business, they can be regulated by the select board like you do with car lots and things of that nature. So I think it's allowed by right in the zoning part of it. It states that they are, is permitted according to the table of use. The guest rooms must be provided within a legal dwelling unit. The owner shall adhere to applicable bylaws and rules and regulations of the town of Westport and the Commonwealth. And short-term rentals in the residential district are for residential use only, not for commercial use. In violation, you can have your permit, if the other bylaw passes, yanked by the select board. And the way that we had thought that this could be administered is in the same way that you do the trailer permits for East Beach, in that you could do them en masse once a year or twice a year, whatever you do for them. And so that it wouldn't be, it would be some work on your office, but it shouldn't be an overwhelming thing. And it's, because it's not a special permit, it doesn't have to be noticed in the paper for every single permit. It's just a permit.
And I think when you were talking about this before, one of the concerns we had is when we do, say, entertainment license or car licenses, we have the police report and we have the fire or the building inspector report. And I think that what you've proposed here is that the permit, the person requesting the permit attests to the fact that it meets those codes.
Correct.
And we would be able to verify that, but it doesn't require that we go verify that.
Correct. It require, your permit should ask, make sure that they are registered with the state so that they are paying their taxes on this short-term rental, and that they're complying with all ours and yours regulations with regard to what is permitted. It also gives you the opportunity, if there's a problem location, and there's been a couple in the town, where the use is abused by having too many people there on weekends and big parties and beer bashes and stuff. If that happens, the neighbors have an opportunity to come to the select board and to complain and ask you to do something, and you could call them in, and if they don't change, you can yank their permit. And if they continue to do it without a permit, then you can start fining them every time they do it.
Right.
And it gives the rest of the community a way to complain and have it heard to a body that can do something about it.
I think you did a very good job of keeping, I mean, this is not the first time we've heard about this, but, and I think you've done a very good job of simplifying it. I know there was a lot of confusion at the last town meeting, so thanks to the committee. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this?
No.
Jim had a question.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to, and I stated this before, you know, the devil's in the details with these things, and administering this permit is not going to be as simple as I think we'd like to see it. So it is going to be a significant amount of work for the office, and then compliance is also going to be an issue. If there is a complaint with one of the properties, the select board can look at health and safety issues, but noise issues, potty issues, it would be difficult, at least my understanding, it would be difficult to withdraw or rescind a permit from one of these establishments once they're permitted by zoning. So just trying to set expectations. I don't have a better solution, so, but it is going to be a significant amount of work for the office, and we'll make do.
So my understanding, and help me if I'm wrong, so Article 26 is the zoning, and that just allows it.
That's right.
So Article 27 is the one where we put these permitting bylaws around. So it is possible that we would pass Article 26 and allow short-term rentals, and then not pass Article 27, in which case there'd be no permit process.
You might want to switch them.
I think we switched them this way.
So we put zoning first.
Yeah, we put zoning first because it's a two-thirds.
Yeah, it's two-thirds.
Yeah.
If that doesn't pass, you just pass over 27.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Right? But if the zoning article, I can't imagine that the zoning article passes with two-thirds, and then the town article doesn't pass with a simple majority. So, but stranger things happen, so.
Dick, do you have?
Yeah. If you recall last year, I was wondering why people would be voting to reject the measure last year. And did they appreciate it that if you do that, you're engaging in an illegal activity, you'll continue to engage in illegal activity. But I guess people who voted on this or opined, I don't think they were irrational. I think they looked at it and figured, well, it's never been enforced before, so there were no consequences. It seems to me at some point we've got to tell people that we need to enforce these laws. And with that knowledge, I'm not doing it or recommending it as a threat, but they need to have that knowledge, because then there's at least the potential for consequences for violating our laws. So I think we need to make that point clear, that if this is rejected like it was last year, we're back in the same position. But at some point, I would recommend as a select board member that we ought to start dealing with the enforcement issue. Otherwise, it's just sort of a joke to have that.
I agree, but I don't agree with why it failed. I think there was so much confusion about the thing, go back and forth with, should it be 7 days, should it be 2 days? People didn't like 7 days, but the people who liked more days didn't like 2 days. So it just, and then it ended, so it was done. So here, we're not talking about how many days. The only thing is that, you know, if you have a house that you're renting out month to month, or you rent out for a month at a time, it isn't a short-term rental.
Yeah, my response to that, if I may, Madam Chair, is yes, that the offending parts of it have been removed.
Right.
And I think the committee has done a wonderful job here. And I think people who would vote against it would be hard-pressed, because there's nothing here that's threatening at all. It's facilitating a short-term rental situation, and it's making it legal. So you'd like to think that if people have enough knowledge about it, they will eventually vote for it. And I hope they do that next month.
Thank you. Anything else from the committee, from the board? All right, thank you, Jim.
Just wanted to say this looks great. This is such a transformation. In fact, the first library book that I ever took out was right from where you're sitting. When this was in between. There was an aisle right down the middle. It's probably closer where Dick is sitting, but that was the first library
The
book I ever.
library?
Now we're
I didn't
talking
know
history.
that. I did not know that. Thank you, Jim.
Neat.
Thank you.
So the next one we wanted to talk about is the capital improvement requests articles. So this is Article 5. Jim, do you want to tell us?
Yeah, so when this was originally before the board, we had recommended $200,000 for the cemetery expansion. There'd be additional funds coming from perpetual care. The latest estimate was over $900,000, so we recommend, or I'm recommending, an additional $100,000 be added to that line item for a total of $300,000 coming out of free cash for the cemetery expansion. We are trying to reduce costs. The highway department has been out there doing some of the work, and the more that we can do in-house, the more savings there will be. But we are at a point where I believe we have about 270 plots left for sale. We sell about 75 a year, so within a few years, we're going to be out of space. It also takes a couple of years for these new sections to be prepped, to settle, and be ready for use. So this is really something that needs to be moved on.
So we want to change from our draft, which had 200 to 300, and 300 is what the FinCom is recommending.
That's correct.
Yeah, all right, anything on, yep.
So Jim, you said highway's been out there working?
Yes.
Do we have all required permits?
What permits would that be?
Did you ask any,
Yeah, as far as I know, we have all the
Hey,
permits. It's a town
conservation.
project, they've done some land clearing.
So you don't need any permits for land clearing on a town project?
We do have the conservation permit, we have an order of conditions.
So you get DEP number?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and so since we're, we have to finalize the warrant tonight, right? So let's just, what I'd like to do is just quickly go through the articles. There's a couple ones that have been marked up on the copies that we have. So we just make sure we understand time. Then please call that out so that we can have someone come back for our next meeting. And then we'll consider whether we want to make a recommendation on the articles at our next meeting. So the first one, are you going to leave, you said we don't need, so Article 1 is from a prior fiscal year.
Yes. So that bill is no longer needed, so we will make we'll amend it and just have a motion to pass over.
Okay, so, and then Article 2 is various transfers from the 2024 budget. Article 3, so you want to talk about, that one has a note on it.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the board. That was a request by an elected position, the town clerk, for the salary of $85,000, which is actually at the low end of a lot of the comparable salaries. With the normal 3% increase would have been about $80,000.
All right, so Article 3 is fixing the compensated elected officers, so that 85 was just different than we typically see. Article 4 is the overall budget, which maybe we can go over that at our next meeting in more detail. Article 5, we just talked about, was the capital improvement. Article 6 is kind of a bureaucracy thing to authorize the treasurer to issue short-term notes. Article 7 is the financials related to marine services. Article 8 is the financials related to the waterline enterprise. You have a note on this one. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, we're not changing the amount, so the overall budgeted amount would be $442,500, but $287,500 would be from user charges to customers, and the waterline enterprise retained earnings, we would look to use $155,000, and that would be used to hopefully cover the past due from the city of Fall River.
Okay, Article 9 is financials related to the town beach enterprise. Article 10 is financials for the cable television fund. Article 11 is funding the various, just one revolving fund. So this is, Article 11 is just the ambulance fund.
Yes, that's just an amendment to that one, increasing it from 190 up to 195.
Okay, so that one was an increase over last year. Article 12 is the funding of all the other revolving funds. Article 13, we talked about, was the community preservation. Article 14 is a vote to increase the local room occupancy tax. So this is one that maybe the public might want more information about. So the Article 14 would increase the local occupancy excise tax from 4% to 6%. I'm going to put that down. We should talk about that in the next meeting. Article 15 is for transfer from the Municipal Waterways Fund for a SCIF for the Marine Services Department. Article 16 is a transfer of funds for software upgrades to, what are we doing with that?
Let's see, Board of Assessors, their
Oh, their reval.
reval and some software. That's a previous article that we're repurposing.
Okay, so repurposing article for the reval software. Article 17 is this is the septic funding, right? Is that what
Yes.
that is? So this is to allow loans to residents who are financing water projects. Article 18 is a hazardous waste collection day. Article 19 is a transfer from transfer station receipts reserve to purchase a roll-off container at the transfer station. Article 20 is the tax title collection revolving fund. Is it a change here?
Just kind of wordsmithing. When it was originally approved, it was approved just for the tax collector or the treasurer, and this includes both the collector and the treasurer.
Okay. Article 21 is a spending limit for the tax title revolving fund. 22 is a deed in lieu of foreclosure for a piece of property. Article 23, it's rescinding a previous vote, right? Oh, we had an authorization to borrow for the,
Ag open space.
for ag open space, and we no longer need that authorization, so that'll just tidy that up. Article 24, we should probably talk about at our next meeting. So Article 24 would change the town bylaws so that no elected officer will be eligible to serve on the Finance Committee. Article 26 and 27, we just talked about with the short-term rental.
And we swapped those two around from the previous versions.
And yeah, okay, they were moved, the order is moved. 28 is a zoning article related to accessory apartments. We want to have anyone come and talk about that, or we feel like we understand that one enough? Okay. 29 is a change to the personnel bylaws to add in a production assistant. 30 is the accepting the layout of Granite Post Road. 31 is accepting the public layout of Maya Way. And 32 is funding the stabilization fund. And the Finance Committee has recommended $300,000 in the motion, right?
Yes.
So, and then Article 33 is for the Capital Stabilization Fund. The Finance Committee is recommending $300,000 to capital stabilization. And then Article 34 is for the Special Education Reserve Fund for $175,000. So we'll have a couple warrant articles that we'll talk about next time. We can talk about whether we want to make recommendations next time, but I will entertain a motion to close, what are we doing?
To approve the warrant for posting.
Approve the warrant for posting.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Okay. Anything else on the warrant? May 6th, Tuesday, May 6th, 7 PM at the old high school. H, you used to have to wait around forever, and now we made you wait around a long time today. The new high school. Yes. We have a request from the Westport Land Conservation Trust to appropriate the conservation restriction from the Westport Land Conservation Trust to the trustees of reservation for vacant land near the Tiverton line, Assessors Map 60, lots 8 to 10, and portion of Map 78, lots 9 and 10.
Thank you, Select Board members. Ross Moran, Executive Director of the Westport Land Trust. I do want to note the vote is to approve the conservation restriction, not to appropriate.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I'm seeking from you all this evening. Last year, we purchased 2 parcels of land, backland between Sodom Road and the Massachusetts and Rhode Island state line. They will eventually be open to the public for hiking as well as hunting. We currently have some hunters on it as well. The land was a part of the town's open space and recreation priorities, an objective from the last plan that was done in 2017, 2018. And so it's a really, really cool tract of land, kind of situated in a very unique spot that I think people will enjoy longer term, the public. As a part of our acquisition efforts, we purchased it with private funds and then a state grant. The state grant requires us to convey a conservation restriction to another organization. In the past, sometimes we've worked with the town on that. In this case, we're working with the trustees on this. A lot of times when we work with the town, it has to do with farmland. In this case, we're working with the trustees who has a lot of experience holding a restriction on this type of property. So, what I'm seeking tonight is your approval of the restriction. The conservation restriction by MGL requires the select board approval.
You have a copy of the plan? You have a copy
sorry?
You have a copy of the plan?
The conservation restriction?
Plan when they,
I have a map, if you'd like to see that, sure.
is that right on Stafford Pond, that piece, or?
No, it's actually, so it's just as you turn onto Sodom Road, it's sort of backland to the west of Sodom Road off of Adamsville. In the restriction, there's copies of the survey that's in there.
Who was the previous owner?
So the previous owner was the Sylvia family. Would like to thank them for really working with us. And one other piece was the Messier family as well.
Is there any questions?
Just through the chair, I'm just looking at this. Where is your access point to get to this land?
Eventually, it'll come from Westport Woods off of Adamsville Road.
It'll be come off of Westport
Yeah.
Woods? Okay, perfect, thank you.
All right, so you're asking for, I will entertain a motion to approve what are we approving? Approving a transfer of the conservation restriction from the Westport
You're just
land.
approving the conservation restriction, I'm sorry.
We're approving the conservation
Excuse me.
restriction.
Motion to approve conservation restriction.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a request from Chris Gonzalez, the highway surveyor, to accept 2 new Central Village signs from David Oliveira, Wolf Bridge Investments. Jim?
Yeah, this, if you notice, there's 2 Central Village signs. One just across from, what's the one name of that street? Just south of Village Garage. There's an
Brookwood Drive?
Brookwood Drive, yes. There's another one down at the southerly end. Both of those signs are deteriorated. We've been looking to replace them. We have a donation from David Oliveira from Wolf Bridge Investments for the 2 signs, so he has donated the 2 signs. The Highway Department will put them up and replace the ones that are deteriorated, so I'd recommend that we accept the donation, and it'll be a nice addition to Central Village.
I move we accept the donation
Second?
from David
Any
Oliver.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. We have a request from Kevin Kurt to allow seasonal East Beach trailers to occupy the sites starting on April 26th. Is there anyone here from East Beach? All right, okay. So this is, Jake, just for your information, so this is pretty normal. The trailer permits start on May 1, but we typically move the dates a little bit to accommodate a weekend for a weekend move-in. Is that what we're looking for?
Yes, it's not our annual request, but occasional request to have trailers come in like 4 days before the season starts.
Yeah. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Enjoy.
Thank you very much.
K, we have a request from Chris Leonard, the Director of Marine Services, to approve the contract for Bruce Ingham of the FV Ocean Rancher for the 2025 Quahog Relay. Quahog, sorry.
Uh-oh.
Just when I got scallop, okay. Did you want to talk about this, or Jim, do you want to?
I can just give you a quick update. Chris is not available tonight, otherwise he would have attended. This did go out for proposals. We did have one bidder that was Bruce Ingham. They've been doing it for a number of years. I know everybody's been very happy with what they've done. I would recommend approval of the contract.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's the 4 in favor and 1 opposed.
Can I go back to Jay for 1 second?
Yep.
Okay, so the only thing that I'm requesting through you is that the trailers have to be permitted before they can go on the lots early.
Okay.
I don't have all the permits in, so.
Did he leave already?
He left.
Okay, all right. Can you get word to,
Yeah, I think they should know that already, but yes.
yeah, okay. Sorry, we rushed
Thank you.
through that. Thank you.
I was supposed to remind you of that.
L, we have a request from the Economic Development Task Force to hold the 2025 Summer Farmers Markets consecutive Saturday mornings from May 31 to October 11, 2025, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the south parking lot of the Annex, and the winter markets for 5 Saturday mornings, November 15 and 22nd, December 6, 13, 20, also from 9 to 1 in the Annex Gym, along with a request to hang the banner for the markets. Maury?
That's basically it.
There we go.
But I have with me Ben Walback, who's one of the co-managers of the market, along with his wife, Hannah. And maybe you'd like to say a couple of things about the vendors and music at the markets, et cetera?
Sure. Yeah, the request is essentially to hit and repeat. We'll be starting slightly earlier, and we had a good, successful season last year. There's going to be some turnover in vendors, but we've already got some exciting new vendors signing up, as well as continued support from the Arts Council.
The Westport Cultural Council, the Helen Ellis, we put in for $3,200 this year, and I have indications that we'll get it, but have nothing official yet.
This is how you have musicians at the.
They made decisions last week, I think, but I've gotten nothing official.
Which allows for music at the markets, which is super popular.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just asking to keep going.
Okay.
I'd also like to mention that we actually pay the Recreation Commission money to use the bathrooms in the summer and the whole gymnasium area in the winter. And we give them $1,000 in the summer and $875 in the winter. And just so you know, those are vendor fees that are going from the Economic Development Task Force and the Farmers Market to help the Recreation Commission.
Well, I'm sure that's the maintenance is
Pardon?
cleaning that's required. That
Well, we
paying custodial
hope we
fees.
don't leave
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions about the farmers market? Sounds like the same thing we've been saying
Yes.
for years. Anybody have any comments or questions about them?
Nope.
All right, so what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I would move the approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you.
That starts on May 31.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, can't wait.
We have a request from the Conservation Commission to appoint the flowing. We have some creative spelling in this one. A request from the Conservation Commission to appoint the following to the Open Space Recreation Committee. Richard Brewer for Select Board Representative, John Bullard for Planning Board Representative, Chris Capone for the Conservation Commission Representative, Sean Leach for Beach Committee Representative, Dana Stewart, Recreation Committee Representative, and Ross Moran, Westport Land Conservation Trust Representative. Do you have anything about this you have to say? Jake, do you know anything about this commission?
No,
What they do?
good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess it's just a quirk, but I was approved for this position at the last meeting and was dutifully reminded by Paula to get down and take the oath, which I did. So I think I'm maybe the only one, I suppose, that we already did this.
Okay, so do you want to move the approval with the exception of yourself, because you've already
Yeah,
approved?
I think that's the right way to go.
Okay.
So I make that motion.
Do I have-
Second.
So we have a second, says basically appointing everybody that I just listed, except for Dick, who's already been appointed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Phew. All right, so now we are on discussion for the Stroke Buddies event. I'm just getting a drink of water. Will you take over while I get my drink
Okay.
of water?
Chair wants to fight.
Careful, hey, you got some wheels.
They do.
Trick chairs.
Here. Lisa, I can help. Okay, thank you. We have to wait.
Well, we know who you are. You've been here before, but for the benefit of the public and the record, could we ask you to just identify yourselves and please
Sure.
proceed?
My name is Lisa Feidelberg-Coster, and I represent Stroke Buddies and Friends. I also sit on the board for the Westport Council on Aging, as well as the Commission for Disabilities here in Westport. I'm a proud Westporter for over 25 years.
And I'm Eileen Moncrief, and I'm the chair of the Westport Council on Aging, and I'm here to support this endeavor. And Lisa.
So I ask them to proceed with their presentation, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So basically, what you have before you is a save the date, in addition to an invitation to come to our second event. We had our first event back in December, which was Cons, Frauds, and Scams. That was very successful, and we had it at the Whites of Westport with D.A. Quinn, and we basically had a informational program for cons, frauds, and scams that basically target not only the elderly, but people with disabilities. And that was around Christmas time, and we felt that that was a topic of discussion, because normally that's the time when everyone seems to be taken advantage of, and it went over very well. Stroke Buddies and Friends was actually a brainchild of mine that I really wanted to give back to my community. I suffered a stroke, and I have had 5 or 6 strokes since then, and I also have ischemic bleeds as well. So sometimes when people see me, I have an invisible disability because I have a brain injury. And there are times where I use a cane, and there's times where I don't. So obviously, when you have an assist, then people can kind of notice and know that there's something going on. And if you don't have an assist, they think you look fantastic and don't realize the challenges that we face having brain injuries moving forward. Stroke Buddies and Friends is a support group for people that do have a disability. It was called Stroke Buddies at first, and then I decided to rename it and call it Stroke Buddies and Friends, because not all of my members have brain injuries, but they all have catastrophic type of challenges that have altered their life in some way. So we really are peer-to-peer, and all of our members suffer from challenges that we learn to embrace together and overcome. And the mission statement for our group is to embrace our new normal, whatever that might be. As a result of having my challenges, I was introduced to the Westport Council on Aging. I've lived in Westport for over 20 years, had no idea that 2 miles away from me, my healthcare team, South Coast Hospitals Group, and my physical therapist actually stopped at the Council on Aging to get me any type of support that I would need for my physical therapy. And she actually introduced me to them by bringing the necessary supports that I would be utilizing in my home. And as a result of that, I said to my husband at the time, well, during this time, stating that if I had the opportunity and I survived this ordeal, that I would like to give back, especially to the Westport Council on Aging. And as a result of that, that's where Stroke Buddies and Friends meets. We meet every third Wednesday of the month. And as a result of that, that was really when we did our first in-service, which was Cons, Frauds, and Scams. As a result of that, I wanted to salute South Coast Hospitals Group. And in doing so, I wanted to also salute the first responders that sometimes go unnoticed, especially in cities and towns. I have to honestly say that this town, with the Westport Fire Department and Police Department, have given me an insurmountable amount of support. I didn't know who my chiefs were or members of the team. Tony is actually a retired, Tony's with me, retired police detective, I believe, and he has given me the support and the knowledge to not only recognize, but to kind of learn how you go about certain things in a town. You know, I was born and brought up in Fall River. We have a mayor, and it's a little different when you're dealing with a town as opposed to a city. But having Eileen and Tony and David have been great support, not only guiding me, but also supporting this organization that we've developed through the Westport Council on Aging. And in doing so, people don't realize that the first responders are in fact that. They are the first responders, and it doesn't matter what type of medical emergency, that they're there unconditionally. They lay down their life for you, and they literally saved my life. I had a 99% blockage on my carotid artery. They do not operate when you have 100%, so I had a 1% chance of making it, and here I am. So it's a blessing, and there are other people that I feel through my support group that I not only give them a voice, but we're being reintroduced back into the community with the gifts that each individual has. And just because we have our challenges now, we do have to embrace our new normal. I haven't done that yet. And so I really just keep moving forward in hopes that I can leave a positive impact and help fellow neighbors that live in the town and people that I meet throughout my journey to assist them in any way that I can. And Westport, as a result of that, we have been, we were allowed to be on the national platform for the American Heart Association, and we are now listed on the American Stroke Association. The little old town of Westport has Stroke Buddies and Friends, and we are the first support group peer-to-peer in our state. And they're now looking to see if we are the first one nationwide. And it's actually run by all members that do have a challenge, so that's an accomplishment in itself. South Coast Hospitals Group is our senior partner in this endeavor, and in doing so, I reached out to all of the South Coast chiefs and police departments. We have well over 20 that are going to be participating in this event. All the medical content is coming from South Coast Hospitals Group, including my healthcare team, which I've given permission so that there's no HIPAA law violation or anything like that. But it's just a way for me to share my story. The members of my group actually come and they do sign a waiver if they do choose to speak about their personal experience. They can do so, and we protect them as well, you know, as far as not making it public to anyone. It's in, you know, a closed door kind of situation. But South Coast had tried to start a support group for many years, and they basically wanted to know what I was doing, because when I first started the group, it was only myself and another girl who we just sat in the room and just had a cup of coffee and kind of chatted. And today we have over 150 members, and it just started 6 months ago. So obviously that there is a need. And highlighting the town of Westport is actually my goal, and all of the departments that have supported me during this whole time since December has been remarkable. We have individual businesses that have supported us, and actually was introduced to the Council on Aging, because many people don't even know that the Council on Aging even exists. And then in doing so, highlighting the different departments within Westport, they're happy to know that, you know, the police and fire departments have their doors open, and that you can go in and you can take a tour and you can actually meet the personnel within the town, and you don't have to meet them on your worst day. You can actually meet them in an environment where it's welcoming, and they're always there and they're always available for you. So with that being said, we also have an advisory board, because we are not there to diagnose anyone. We don't actually give out medical information or, you know, on a medical standpoint. We have over 13 people with various degrees. We have doctors and nurses and the support with their physical therapy department, the brain center, and all of that. So I do have an advisory board, because I was asked at one point what kind of medical credentials did I have to start a support group. But this is really for coping skills, and it's really for social. because you do feel lost and alone. And so these types of, my group is just so essential for the recovery moving forward. And I just feel that, that's an important component sometimes that's overlooked. And knowing that you're not alone in this journey, which does take a very long time, no matter what kind of stroke that you have. You can be diagnosed with the same stroke and be on two different sides of the spectrum. We're now going into, we have some nonverbal participants, and we're learning sign language so that we can actually communicate. And knowing that they know that we're in the same boat as they are gives them comfort, so we are making strides with regards to that. So I basically wanted to come before you this evening just to let you know what's happening in Westport. They are going to be doing a media campaign about my story with South Coast, which will include commercials and however they do their thing on their end. And the campaign is going to be named after a stroke transformed a Westport woman's life. Now she helps others. And I just really felt that it was important for my select board to be a part of that. And to really know what's happening, not only at the Council on Aging, but within the community. And it's been my honor to come and explain to you what I'm doing here in the town.
So can you tell us about what's going on May 3rd? May 3rd from 9 to 5.
Yes. So May 3rd, between 9 and 5, we actually have it broken down with mini 15 to 20-minute presentations from our medical community, which will encompass heart health and stroke prevention, in addition to dietary needs, or we actually have people that are coming from the brain center, vascular, and all the different departments based on heart health and stroke prevention. We have cardiologists that are coming. They'll break down into smaller classrooms, which will be from 25 people or less. If we have an overabundance in a particular classroom, we also have the auditorium that's available as well. We are also encompassing a Touch-a-Truck program, and Tony can actually speak on more specifics. I've given him that great task to organize all of that with all of our fire and police departments. The Touch-a-Truck is a big hit. We also have commitments from the state police, and we did ask for, I hate to say it, but a helicopter to come in, because I know it's such a big thing with the kids, but we're working on that, as well as MedFlight coming in 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. So they have till the 15th of the month when all of that will be actually confirmed. So all of our invites are already out. We have area dignitaries coming in too, our senators, on the state level. And we're just waiting for confirmation so that we can actually put the program together so that they'll be able to meet people that are involved with the legislature when it comes to strokes.
And then what's the best way for people to find out more or learn more about the program?
So on our flyer, we actually have an email, which is
strokebuddiesandfriends@gmail.com.
That is correct, and that comes directly to me. And then we do have different volunteers, including the Council on Aging. You can also call there as well. And they'll basically put you in touch with me, or I have Eileen who's helping, and people on our volunteer board as well.
All right, so strokebuddiesandfriends@gmail.com, or you can call the Council on Aging.
Hi,
So-
Tony Sestodio. Just one point I want to make out. General parking will not be at the new high school because of the Touch-a-Truck is going to take the whole front of the school, and I'm going to have limited parking in the back. So we'll be shuttle busing folks in. Parking lot has not been determined yet, but soon we'll figure out where that shuttle will be. I just don't want 100 people showing up at the school thinking that's where they're going to park. It will be off-site. We'll figure out where specifically, and everybody will get shuttle bused in.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you.
Any questions? I think it's great what you're doing.
Not one question?
It's like a big learning opportunity. I'm actually going to be out of town, but it sounds like a very good learning opportunity in the short little lectures that you're going to have, and I just wish you a lot of success with that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do have a question, though. Because of the parking, we're trying to get in touch with someone that actually, where they have the fair, the fairgrounds. Does anyone might have a phone number? I did use a phone number that was passed along to me, but I haven't gotten a response. We're just looking to use their parking lot area. Oh, wonderful.
Terrific. Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good, see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Next on the agenda is the town administrator report.
Just a couple of things, remote meetings, Governor Maura Healey signed into law an amendment that allows the remote meetings to continue to June 30th, 2027. That was supposed to expire the end of March, so that is a good thing. Regional school admissions, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education is currently considering proposed regulations that would implement a lottery-based admission system for regional vocational technical schools. If adopted, these regulations would significantly change the admission process for institutions such as Bristol County Agricultural High School and Diamond Regional Vocational High School. I know the superintendent, Derek Costa of Bristol Agricultural, had some concerns. He's looking for support for a new bill, House HD 4510. I'm not sure if it's beneficial or not, and I think it's still up in the air. I think it'll benefit some and unfortunately not others, but it does give some other students that may not have had an opportunity to go to Diamond that opportunity. Online permitting, that has been implemented in the building department. So far, feedback from both the public and the department has been very positive. The Board of Health is scheduled to transition to online permitting next, followed by planning and conservation. Just a couple of other things, the website, the staff has been training on the new website over the last couple of weeks. I think there's another 2 sessions of training on the new website. I will caution people that once the new website goes up, there will be some complaints. It's just different. Anytime you change anything, it's going to, when you can't find things the way you've been searching for them in the past, it takes a little bit of time, but overall, I think it's a better website. It's much easier to use for the staff. It's much easier to upload content. So in the long run, I think it's going to be a positive for the town.
And when are you trying to get that done?
We're trying to get it up hopefully in the next month or so. We have till the end of June,
Okay.
depending on how the training goes, and we're still working out some bugs and kinks and trying to dress it up a little bit more. But Carol Freitas has been doing an unbelievable job. The amount of time that she's put into this transition is incredible. There's a lot of work that goes into the migration, a lot of work behind the scenes that you just don't anticipate on these types of projects. Just a couple other things. The cemetery, we're currently updating the cemetery software. It was a volunteer group that kind of put that previous software package up, and it was no longer being supported by the website or by some of the volunteers, so we're in the process of updating that software. Some of the preliminary mapping is done, and the mapping is, it's not ideal. We're using existing maps from the cemetery, which are not ideal, but we're trying to improve those, and eventually I think it'll be a very good system. But Mike Brulot over at the cemetery has been putting a lot of time into getting the applications done, the permits done, so that they can be online as well as trying to organize where these plots and different sections are. It's not just the Beech Grove, we're looking at Linden Grove and Maple Grove as well. The accounting department is also upgrading their software. They're supposed to go online July 1st. That's kind of been in the process for almost a year and a half now. We had some issues with the overall accounting formatting of the accounts, but I think they've got that worked out. The assessor's office is also looking to upgrade their assessor software. Originally, they were going to a different vendor, but they're going to stick with their new vendor, with their existing vendor, which will help out in the transition. They hope to have that up by July as well. Culvert Design Grant, Westport was awarded a $69,000 grant to support preliminary engineering design work for the replacement of 3 aging undersized culverts at Angeline Brook at Cornell Road, Snell Creek, and Lyons Brook on Drift Road. The thought is that they want to increase the size of these culverts and improve them so that they don't hinder native fish migration and increase the risk of roadway damage during extreme weather events. This is just a preliminary engineering design. Step 1. There'll be a number of steps after this if it does move forward. This just gives you a general idea of what type of design would be required for these culverts based on the size. We've seen what's happening with Drift Road and Kirby Brook right now, how a small culvert project is expanded into a larger project. These are smaller culverts, but there's still stream crossing standards and other standards that have to be met as this goes forward.
So you're going to hire an engineer? You're looking to hire an engineer for that?
So this would be through the grant. Buzzards Bay Coalition and the planning staff have been working on this, yeah. They would, I don't know if they have an engineer on board yet or not. It's not a big grant, but,
I had one more question on like the previous one about the website and stuff. How's the online permitting coming along? Is that incorporated into that website or?
So the cemetery would be a separate module. I'm sure we could provide a link with our website. We will provide a link from our website to the cemetery. But right now, I don't, you know, it's a good question. We'd actually gone for the cemetery software before the permitting software was finalized. I don't know if they have a separate license or a separate, what do you call it, software package for cemetery.
But the building permit is online, the animal permit's online.
Building, and I believe the fire will be soon, and Board of Health will be coming in planning, conservation. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to get these things up, to migrate the data over, to get your permits in line with the software, to get your forms and fee structure in line with the software to make this work. I give a lot of credit to the building department for the effort and time that they put in so far, as well as the planning staff and these other departments. It's a lot of work. But eventually it will benefit us all and hopefully give them some more free time to move things along. That's all I have.
Right. The report on the bill warrant.
Oh, you want minutes?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, minutes of March 24.
I've reviewed the minutes, and I move approval of the March 24th minutes.
Second?
Okay, so Jake was not there, and you were also not there. All right, so we're going to have two abstentions. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that's unanimous with 2 abstentions due to absent, or Jake wasn't around. All right, the bill warrant.
Bill warrant was done on 4/2, April 2nd, $2.4 million. I made some comments that there's Route 6 water project warrants in there, and everything was in order. I keep making the same report, everything's in order, but that's good news, and I hope I always can say that.
So are you willing to continue and our designee for signing the bill warrant?
Yes, I am.
All right. We used to have to go to town, all of us had to go to town hall to sign it, but we delegated it.
I would say that if Mr. Dutra, who is...
I have to substitute for the next one, yes.
Okay, in case he wanted to.
Okay.
The main job, I would be willing to yield, but I'm okay with continuing.
No,
Okay.
I'm perfectly happy letting you take it.
All right, so the next item we have is liaison committee reports or suggestions for future agenda items. So Craig, we'll start with you.
Okay, so, well, the board's rep to the Long-Term Building Committee, which we've discussed. We had a very lively meeting last week regarding the uses of the high school, as well as presentation by the consultants, RGB consultants, to look at what are the options. Some of the cost, more like cost estimates. It was very well attended. It was a lively meeting at times, and it's the first step of a 2-step process in terms of public hearings. We'll have another round of findings presented by the group, as well as another public meeting later, I think probably in the month of June is what we're looking at.
All right.
Okay, that's, then the other 2 committees that I'm serving as your representative on are meeting this week, so I'll have something to report next time. The Affordable Housing Trust is meeting on Wednesday, and the Opiate Addiction Settlement Funds Committee is meeting tomorrow night.
All right, thank you. Dick?
I believe I reported on the audit committee meeting last time, but we will have another audit committee meeting on May 5th. We will have Town Auditor Anthony Roselli present either in person or on the Squawk Box there. And then after that, of course, we always ask if the Select Board wishes to hear from Mr. Roselli, and we'll be making that same offer. I serve as the liaison of the Council on Aging. I've been to the meetings. There's one coming tomorrow, and we've had the people here tonight talking about stroke buddies. And also CERTA, the buses. We're working on the budget. Everything there is going well. I think all of you know that buses, the sort of buses, you can ride them for free. And that was because of a grant that was given to us. I forget the source of the grant. So it's a great thing. We wonder what's going to happen when the grant is no longer available and people have to start paying again. But it looks like this can be continued for quite some time to come, at least for the rest of the year. But that's kind of a neat thing, believe me. So in any event, that's all I have to report.
Thank you. So we talked about the Stroke Buddies event. I met with Lisa, and I met with the fire and police chief with Lisa to talk about the Stroke Buddies event that she had. We have the next offshore wind committee is April 24. I'll let Jake talk about the topic for that. There was a fiber internet provider that had, the Internet Advisory Committee has been on hiatus. We haven't met in quite a long time because there wasn't really anything to talk about. But Keith Novo was approached by someone who was expressing interest in a project in Westport. So I was going to call a meeting of the fiber internet provider just to talk to this person before we bring them to the select board, so that they would have at least had their initial pass at what Westport's interested in through that committee. But I haven't scheduled that yet. And I did attend the long-term, the school building meeting that was very well attended. So, Manny?
I won't have anything till our next meeting.
All right, Jake, anything?
Just to follow up on your point, the Offshore Wind Advisory Committee is not, I know we originally had it for this Thursday, April 17th. Because of scheduling conflicts, we're going to do it on April 24th. So that agenda will be out later on this week. We'll have 2 guests that will be presenting, and then also we'll have a letter from the planning board that we'll be discussing at the meeting on the 24th. So again, it's April 24th, not this week, the 17th. That's it.
Thank you. Comments from the public? You've been waiting very patiently.
Yes, I have. Okay, my name is Debbie Dietz. I live at 1 Narrow Avenue. Last Tuesday, I went to vote. They asked me for my address. I said 1 Narrow Avenue. And lo and behold, they said, "Are you Laura Hadley?" I said, "No, I'm not." And she does not live at 1 Narrow Avenue. She does not live in the town of Westport. She doesn't even live in the state of Massachusetts. So they lodged, once again, a formal complaint on my behalf about Laura Hadley. And lo and behold, a couple hours later, Laura shows up down at my property, trying to lock me off my property again. I had to call my attorney. I had to call the police. So at this point in time, somebody from this town hall called her up and told her I lodged a formal complaint that she needs to be removed from the voter roll. And this is what happened in retaliation. So it happened from this town hall. I don't know who did it, but the bottom line is I'm assuming, and a number of people have gone to the town clerk and told the town clerk that this woman does not live at 1 Narrow, she does not live in Westport, she does not live in the state of Massachusetts. For whatever reason, this woman is not being removed from the voter roll. And I'm not the only one that's complained. Numerous other people have filed complaints also or gone to the town clerk. It is not being addressed. So it's time for this to escalate. I'm assuming that the town clerk answers to you guys. I'm assuming that you guys want to retain election integrity in this town. So I'm just making you aware, this is what's going on, and it needs to be addressed.
Thank you. So the town clerk does not report to us. The town clerk is an independently elected official, so we don't have any control over the town clerk. But Jim, can I ask you to follow up with, I don't know who do we need to follow up with KP Law or?
I will follow up with the town clerk, and if need be, I can check with KP Law. I believe there is a process to go through. I don't know what that process is, but I will find out and get that information back to the board. I can get it to you as well if you want to leave your name and number. I can.
The town clerk is not addressing the issue.
So there's a process, and I don't know what the process is.
I'm the only person who lives at 1 Narrow Avenue.
So can you leave your contact information with Paula, and we will find out what the process is, so that we don't want to give you incorrect information. And
I'm
then
assuming the town clerk answers to somebody in this town.
The town clerk is an independently elected position. The
Mhm.
town clerk, it answers to the voters. So we don't have control over the town clerk. Now, I don't know where the registrars begin and end. They are also, we appoint the registrars, right?
I believe we do.
Yeah, so I think what we need is a little bit more information about, from Jim, not from you, on the role of the registrars of voters in that case, because we do appoint them.
Whether you guys have to get in touch with the DOJ or the Attorney General or whatever, this needs to escalate. And I believe that, maybe you guys as select boards, maybe you could, take it further.
Do we have a registrar?
We
Well,
have four.
we just,
We have
we
have a
just
board.
appointed somebody.
Oh, sorry, we have Board of Registrars.
But we had a person before, right?
We do, and we just appointed one, the board just appointed one tonight that starts at 28th,
Okay.
the assistant
I
registrar.
think the procedure's probably to put a formal in writing into the,
What's that?
probably, the procedure's more than likely, she probably has a form, the clerk probably has a form for you to fill out. And if you ask her for that question, she can probably provide you with a form to fill out.
Well, we'll find out. So it sounds like you're not getting
We've
the
gotten
form.
nowhere with the town clerk, and I'm not the only person. There have been numerous people that have approached the town clerk. She knows the person doesn't live here. The person lives at 63 Cliff Street in Tiverton, Rhode Island. How this person even got on the ballot to run for state rep is just beyond me, That's fraud. That's election fraud. And I would think that you guys want to retain election integrity in this town.
So we'll find out. So we'll consult with town council, we'll consult with the clerk, we'll look at the role of the registrars of voters. There's four of them, right? Or there's three,
Three
and
of them,
plus the
yep.
clerk. Yeah, so we'll figure out the right entity to do that.
Something, but I'm not filling out any forms with the town clerk. I'm done dealing with the town clerk.
I hear you. So if you can just make sure that Paula has your contact information.
Okay.
And then we'll reach out to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the public? All right. We don't have any under 48-hour items.
We do not.
So we're about to go into executive session. We will not conduct business after the executive session except to adjourn. So under the, I will entertain a motion pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, where the chair declares an open meeting will have a detrimental effect to A, approve minutes of February 24, 2025, B, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, specifically the highway surveyor, and C, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Town of Westport Workers' Compensation, MIA claim number 33423202251.
I move we go into I, Craig Dutra, move we go into executive session for the purposes stated by the chair.
I, Richard Brewer, second that motion.
All in favor?
I, Craig Dutra.
I, Richard Brewer.
Aye, Shauna Tees.
I, Manny Soers.
All right, Jake McWigan.
All right, we are in executive session.